Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I am your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and I am here with my brothers, Crispy Bomb and Fuzzy Belvedere. And my God, ladies and gentlemen, last week, I'm not going to front. I struggled. With putting topics together. Now, don't get me wrong. The bookend shows, meaning the last week's lunch break was super powerful. I was able to make a lot of little videos out of that. And then Friday was phenomenal. We had a great time. We had a Silent Cipher back. We put some serious pointage out there. Did 2 of those videos. They're doing pretty well. So thank you for everyone that has checked in. They're just a pinch under 1,000 views per. And it may not be a lot of views for some of the bigger channels, but for a smaller channel, when you slice and dice up a podcast that's getting 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5,000 views, that's a really big deal. So big thank you to everyone that tuned in. Before we get into what happened over the weekend, I want to thank a lot of people. And you know what? These are the unsung heroes of the podcasting community. And there are people in the community that are watching right now. Aces 352, Sith Lord, King Web 178, Brett Bingham is another one that continuously drops bombs into the DMs. You know, J Mo Money, Kale Walker, Clute, aka Abdel114 in the chat. Irk of Art. We also have Jasco A. Johnson, who's been, DMing me. And listen, folks, I'm not a superstar, folks. I'm just a regular gamer like you. So when you DM me, you can rest assured I'm going to get back to you. And almost instantaneously. I spend too much time on social media, but I just want to say a big thank you. Now, if I missed your name, it's not because I'm being like facetious or anything. It's a long list. So I'm literally reading from my DMs, and I want to thank everybody that over the weekend reached out and talked about, sent me things regarding one of the things we're going to talk about, and that's Horizon Zero Dawn coming to Xbox. And my God, Crispy Bomb, I don't like using the P word, but the ponies, ladies and gentlemen, were out for Boom in the worst way. I got called some serious names, had to do some blocking, right? But not so much coming from me do I care. I mean, it's just an opinion. It's a theory. It's a rumor. But, bro, people in their feelings over this game, and potentially many more coming to Xbox. Folks, I don't understand why this is a surprise. Like, listen, I was in my feels like Dirt Griggity and Kay Asante and, Crispy Bomb and Fuzzy Belvedere and plenty of the Xbox community when they went third party. We were like, this is some BS, man. Where do we count? Why do we feel like second-class citizens? And ultimately, we understood that either we moved with them or we got left behind. So I moved with Xbox. And I've always said this, and maybe it's a cop-out. As long as my Xbox Game Pass doesn't get games taken away to put somewhere else, it's never going to be a problem. And ultimately, that's what has happened. But Sony going third party is a thing. It's been a thing for a while, folks. Now, we know that there's been some goalposts moving. We know there's been some shaking and moving, if it's, it doesn't count because it's a multiplayer game, or it doesn't count because someone bought the IP back and there's, someone's a different, publisher. Ultimately, Sony is going to move the way Microsoft is moving because they're copycats. That's just what they do. They copy Xbox. And when they copy Xbox, Crispy Bomb, they are levied the heroes of gaming. Like, oh my God, Sony, the gaming gods have come down for us. How you feeling, brother? How was your weekend?
Oh, it was better, Chiefs won.
Yes, Steelers won. They looked like shit, but they won. Listen, W's a W.
Same boat. One bright spot was Thornton. Yeah, he might be a steal from the Patriots, so we'll see about that. But yeah, and then avoided jury duty, and now we got some interesting topics because it's like one is kind of positive for Xbox and one is definitely negative, but we're going to get into it.
Well, the negative one, or the negativity of surrounding the price increase, folks, we're going to give them the smoke. If you came here for us to kind of pat the ass of Xbox, you tuned into the wrong podcast. They're going to get the smoke. Now, granted, I got some thoughts, I got some theories, but this might be a bigger situation than we have all thought that it could be. But hey, Fuzzy Belvedere, what's up, brother? How you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling great. Glad to be here with you guys. Yeah, we're definitely going to have a good conversation on man, these topics. Like I don't understand why PlayStation cats are back and forth on are games coming to Xbox or not. I mean, we already have one of them. It doesn't stop at just one. It's not like, just like the Lay's potato chip thing. You can't just have one. Yeah, it's going to happen. You might as well just prepare yourselves, move on to other metrics or other goalpost moving stuff. But as far as the games coming over, it's happening. But we got some other stuff to talk about. But man, it's a great time to be a gamer. Haven't done as much on Dying Light Beast as I would like, but been playing a bunch of other smaller games and have my Switch 2 and my Steam Deck on the road. So playing more smaller games for those types of handheld devices and stuff. But we're going to have a good one today.
Yeah, well, the what's on your screen, folks, I know there's going to be some people asking. This is one of the first crack cocaine or digital crack games of 2025 for me, and that is Greed Land. It's $15, folks. Well worth every penny. It is a roguelite. It is Vampire Survivors with modern graphics, if you will. And as you can see, there are bugs. So it's very Helldivers 1 on the PlayStation 3. Was it the 3 or 4? I don't remember. But the first Helldivers, that was this isometric view, is very similar because you're fighting like loads and loads and loads of bugs, and you get ridiculous weapons and you power up, and there's different armor, like robot skins, armor skins that you can get. It's really good, especially when you get to later in the game. You can combine some of the powers, and they're just ridiculous. I don't know if I combined any of the powers here, but I might. I'm not sure. But yeah, this is called Greedland. It's on Xbox. I believe it's everywhere. I don't think it's on Switch, but I know it's definitely on PC for sure. It's probably on PlayStation. So if you're a PS guy or girl, check it out. It's really good. I absolutely love it. Again, it's one of those games you could just jump in for 15, 20, 30 minutes and get out and feel like you did something. But gentlemen, I don't think either topic would be a good or bad starting point, but I kind of want to start with the smoke. Microsoft has what we like to call, done in the past, and Crispy will agree with me on this, stepping on rakes. It's something that they know how to do very well. Obviously, one of the things that you've noticed, well, again, especially if you've been following me here on Double Barrel Gaming, is bad news usually drops on a Friday, right? So we have the weekend to let it simmer. Some people do podcasts over the weekend, so you get a chance to hear about it. I literally almost did another Saturday show, but Mrs. Boom and I were so busy. And so I didn't have the time, and I didn't want to just half cock it. So I was, you know what, I'll save that topic for Monday. And well, here we are, folks. So in what I believe to be another rake stepping moment for Xbox, they raised the prices of the Xbox Series X and S once again. Now, when I say once again, they just did this a couple of months ago. So this is now the second increase. And I got to tell you, Crispy, I'm going to be 55 on Thursday. So I'm definitely the old man in the room. And I've been around since 78. I've told you the story 100 times before. In all of the years of gaming, I don't and can't recall a time where after a console was officially released and had a few years on the market, that said console's price was raised. I've never seen anything quite like it. And, when you just take a step back, now, granted, yes, we're going to give Xbox and more specifically Microsoft some smoke. And I think it's well-deserved criticism, right? But let's make no mistake. They're not the only ones to have done this. Nintendo raised the price of the Switch 1, which is ridiculous. The Switch 2, folks, I'm here to tell you that price increase is going to drop, and it's probably going to drop right before the holidays, which would really suck, to be honest with you. Sony has already raised the price once, and like many things before them, they're going to see what Xbox is doing, and there might be another price increase. And it's not because they're trying to just copy them and they want to make more money, but ultimately that's what it comes down to. Crispy, this is a wild conversation to have. The price increases on the entry into Xbox gaming is $399 for the S model, which is wild. Like, this console launched at $299, and it is now $100 higher 5 years later. If you go and, let's say, for instance, you want to go and get the 2 terabyte Xbox, I have that, right? I think it came out at $649 if I remember correctly. It might have been $599. If anybody in the chat wants to correct me, I'd appreciate it. But I don't know if it was $599 or $649. But that joint is $800. I mean, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. I mean, they said it's macroeconomics, and we know every time you hear that, I just want to punch somebody in the face. Because listen, we're not business types, folks. We're video game players, so I don't want to talk about macroeconomics. I don't really give a shit. But this is so real quick. Whole Grain Bread says they've increased the S by 33% since launch. Great point of view, brother. I mean, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. Crispy, let's try and make sense of this, because they weren't selling, or they were having trouble selling consoles before the price increases, and that was 2 of them now. How do they expect to sell consoles now? I don't know. Let's get your thoughts on this.
Oh, I think we live in bizarro world at this point. I have, like, literally my Series X is now an investment.
Yeah.
Like, think about that.
Yep.
I think I paid $620 and I got Watchdog Legion with it, which I never even opened, by the way. I have a sealed copy if anybody's interested. And I got 2 controllers, with the controller came with an extra controller. Yeah, and I think it was about $620. And that was at a point in time where they were actually kind of sold out, and my buddy kind of hooked me up because he knew somebody at PC Richard & Sons, and they let him know, like, immediately when it was back in stock. But they also had this little asterisk that you had to buy a bundle with a bunch of other stuff, like the controller and etc. So if you really think about that right now, I got all that extra stuff, and it's still cheaper than it is now. It's kind of crazy. And it's a little wild. It's almost like, like all these collectible type things, and now we're getting into newer consoles being like a collectible type thing that gains value just because these companies are just like, okay, we're going to say macroeconomics or tariffs, and we're going to raise the price. I mean, let's be honest here. You could say that all you want, but we're talking about billion and trillion dollar companies. Maybe we could give a little bit of a pass to Nintendo in a way, because they're not even close to Sony or Xbox, but it's Microsoft here, people. Like, I have nothing. This is ridiculous. It makes me very mad at myself not buying the Series S much sooner, and I'm probably going to just hold back on that at this point, or I'm going to actually throw my Scorpio edition on eBay and maybe get some money or something, because they're out there, but you don't see a lot of them. I've looked, so and it's in perfect condition. Like, I've used it, but I've taken great care of it. So it's one of those conundrums now, because like, could really use a Series S in the bedroom, but also I don't want to spend more than I think is logical, and we're at that point now. As far as this is where we start talking about, okay, why are they doing this? Well, it doesn't help that Sony ain't got no games coming out. I'm going to tell you that right now. You got Yotai, and you got, some handheld, type. They're holding hands with certain companies, and they're getting, year exclusivity, or ends up being longer sometimes, but we'll just say a year. And that's how they're pushing their consoles right now. Well, Xbox is like, oh, we got Game Pass. That's a seller.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have all these games coming out on top of it. And you could play them in Game Pass as well. So I don't know if they're being a little extra, puffing their chest out like, oh, we can charge more now, which obviously I'm not for. I would be a person that says, if you got a PlayStation, stick with it. If you got one Xbox and you really wanted to, I wouldn't do it right now. The only thing we could do is not buy them at this point, and just maybe you start seeing some sales. But right now, we're getting closer to the holiday already, and you're raising the price right there. Now, what's going to happen? Now we're going to go back to the price that was already raised, not even the one that was before that as a sale. It's crazy. Ridiculous. I mean, I'm with you, Boom. I have never seen this. And we are talking about even other electronics that this is still not really happening. You know what I'm saying? So it makes me question how much, these companies might be, tapping each other on the shoulder. Well, no, even tapping each other on the shoulder and be like, okay, Microsoft, you could take it. You go first. And then we're going to see, Nintendo or Sony go second. And then they're just going to keep flip-flopping back and forth and keep raising the prices. And this is where we're talking about a handheld coming out that now is looking like it's going to be more than the rumor. I'm saying? And it's like, at least that thing can play some PC stuff, and it has this new, UI, and you still have Game Pass and all that. But still, is it going to be more than the 2 terabyte Series X? More than likely now for that Ally X. So now we're just in Bizarro world. It's like, Superman became Bizarro, and we never understood that transition until you went through the whole story. You know what I mean? And we're at that whole story point. We need a documentary at the end of this of how, after all of this time in gaming, we have gotten to this point where everything is going up in price, even if it's 5 years older. Electronics are not supposed to do that. This is not normal. And I hope this is not a trend for the future, because if this continues, gaming is going to, at least console gaming is going to be dead on arrival in another 10 years. And we're going to be talking about the death of console gaming in general. So we'll see what happens. But I definitely, I would definitely hold back right now and see what's going on, unless you're like some people are probably thinking, is it going to go up more, which is a quite possibility. So we're at the point where you're playing stocks at this point, or you're gambling. So do you wait and see if it goes lower, or do you buy it now and anticipate it going higher again? That is crazy that we have to think about this at this point. They should always be lower after 5 years. This is absurd. And like I said, I don't see many other electronics doing that tenfold unless it involves gaming or computers or anything like that. You sometimes see them go higher. Now, also, I would like to point out that when it comes to these newer consoles that are coming out, I hope they can figure out these scalpers, because they're going to jack the price up even more. They got to figure out a way to limit these bots. I know there's a lot of companies working on it. I haven't heard anything from Xbox in general, so we'll see about that. But that's another problem that exists, even more prevalent now. So we're just at a really strange time in gaming. And I mean, you got to say enough, the console goes up, but hey, I already got one and I got Game Pass, so it doesn't really affect me. But it's still it's disheartening, because they're having a year, they're going to have a great year next year, and really they're going to be hurting themselves from selling more consoles by raising these prices. And it also brings you into question that you're trying to sell more subs, so how does that help you? There's a lot of questions here, and I want to see the outcome. We're going to hear stuff. along the time, and as we get into seeing more of their reasoning, because I'm sure somebody's going to figure out something at some point, or have somebody leak something, that we're going to be able to discuss this more. But right now, it's just absurd.
Yeah, great points all around. Fuzzy, I have some numbers. And you know how I feel about evidence-based conversation, right? Like, we can have opinions. Very hard to argue the numbers. So I want to show a succession. Hey, hold on just a second. So the Series S, when it was raised in May, right? Now check this out, folks. This is the crazy succession. In the US, the Series S 512 gigabyte was originally $299.99. So let's just say $300. Xbox on May 1st, 2025, which was only a couple of months ago by my math, raised it by 27% to $380, right? The Series S 1 terabyte was raised to $430. The digital Series X was raised to $550. The Series X itself was raised by that was raised to $600. And get this, folks, the Series X 2 terabyte Galaxy Black Special Edition, which I have, was raised by 22%. Check this out, folks. From $599.99 to $730. Fast forward to Friday. And what you have now is the Series S 512. $400. The cheapest entry point into Xbox. And I know you can play anywhere, but if we're talking console sales, it's $400. $450 for the 1 terabyte. $600 for the digital X, $650 for the regular Series X with a disk drive, and the most ridiculous thing I've seen in practically the last 5 years, maybe even a decade, Fuzzy Belvedere, is the Series X 2 terabyte Galaxy Black Special Edition is now $800. That is $200 higher than its original launch price. I mean, what is going on? So again, and there is a back end conversation that we're going to have here, right? We're talking about the price increases and how this is a really bad look. And I know there's going to be some people that are going to push back and be like, well, no, but others. We're talking this is an Xbox podcast, folks. This is one of those situations where I feel it necessary to give smoke to Microsoft, because I give smoke to Nintendo, even though that's shocker, I do, and PlayStation. And this is a bad look, man. I get prices are going up, but and this is where I don't want to say greedy corporation, but I kind of wonder if the consoles aren't selling and they're currently sitting somewhere, they're already paid for. They're already made and paid for. They've spent the money. They're waiting for people to buy these things at the original price from the May 1st increase. And if they're sitting somewhere, what is the point of selling it for the higher price now? Are they, because didn't we hear that they were kind of scaling back production?
Yeah.
So if they were scaling back production, what's the deal with this?
It's really unusual. I'm a watcher of pricing on a lot of electronics. Like, I have a nice LG OLED TV. It's probably now, like, I want to say 8 years old. I got it early on, like when the Xbox One X came out. It's definitely time for an upgrade, but I don't really want to upgrade until it's like not working. I don't like spending extra money just for the heck of it, kind of thing. And I've been keeping an eye on prices on TVs, and for the most part, they've stayed within their normal, reasonable amount. I've seen about maybe a $100 to $200 bump in the new year price when the new models come out, but there's also some new features to go along with that. But by 6 months end or at a year's end, that price gets the normal $1,000 cut like it's been doing for like the past almost 10 years now. So you're basically getting those TVs for half off if you just wait a little bit longer. If you're buying it around Super Bowl time, yeah, they're going to hit you over the head. It's not like it used to be, although you'll still find like the previous year models at a decent discount, but a lot of times those are like only in stores that in quantities of ones and twos. So it's like almost like a doorbuster deal for the holidays. But you would think TVs would see similar price increases, but I think probably the biggest difference is the amount of volume. So, and this is no way to give them an excuse to raise the price, because it seems counterintuitive to raise a price if you're having a hard time selling an item. But like TVs, I know sell in the hundreds of thousands, if not hundreds of millions on a regular basis amongst thousands of different models. I mean, a lot of people have adopted 4K. Not everybody has adopted 8K, but there is a decent number of those that have, and they're upgrading TVs. Like you can basically get what used to be a $1,500 TV 10 years ago, that they're going for $200 and $300 at Walmart now. So that's something that's kind of funny that they haven't seen these types of increases. Cell phones, another one. Sure, there has been a bump on some of the flagship models. And if you look at the bigger picture of like the folding phones, or the ones that now have 2 terabytes or a terabyte of storage, Apple's hitting you over the head in a lot of cases for those. And the same thing with Samsung to some extent, but they've always had those phones in the $1,000 plus range as their flagship model. So it's not quite the big jump, except for if you're looking at the new foldable ones, but that's kind of a new tech that you're paying for the factor of having an OLED screen that can fold without having a distinct crease line kind of thing. So it just feels weird to me that they're raising these prices once again. And like you said, if they're already assembled, manufactured, already on our shores, then there shouldn't be any increase on those. Although maybe they're taking into account for the ramp up for the holidays to pay in advance for the ones coming over, and they split the difference between existing inventory. But that doesn't seem like that would be a good way to price structure things. Like I think given this climate of whether it's tariffs, whether it's greed, whether it's inflation in general, I think the big thing that they're going to find out, it's going to pretty much give them this prediction that the industry will slow down because they're pricing themselves out of the market. When you don't have the ability to upgrade your console, let's say, knock on wood, let's hope this doesn't happen to anyone that's listening or anyone else that's a gamer out there. Let's say your console breaks and you got to replace it. It's out of warranty at this point. It's 5 years old. And even if you bought the extended warranty at Best Buy or someplace, they'll come up with some excuse kind of thing. But all in all, if you had to replace your console, you're now getting hit over the head for a lot more money than when you bought it, let's say, at launch. And a lot of people, yeah, great, they bought it at launch, but there's quite a few, or I would say a good substantial amount of the player base that's still on the last gen console. So what are they going to do? Like most of those that are still playing on a PS4 or an Xbox One, typically they wait until about midway of the generation. The price goes down. I can get a better deal. Maybe I'll get it with a bundle. That doesn't exist now. So those players are going to pretty much be stuck on a PS4 or an Xbox One. Now, I guess the only slight advantage would be that if you have an Xbox One, you can do the game streaming of a series console game on that Xbox One through Game Pass Ultimate. But outside of that, you're now stuck a full generation behind. We're already talking about the next generation in a year or two. So I think these companies have to figure out whether next generation has to go on the cheaper side, kind of pull a Nintendo with lesser hardware. But then we've gotten so used to, ray trace reflections and, specular lighting and all this stuff like that. I don't know if the gaming community would be willing to accept, a cell phone chipset in their home console kind of thing. it just doesn't make sense to me. I think they're making their own premonition of, you know, slower sales, even a bigger downside, because if you can't look at like the previous console holders for like PS4s and Xbox Ones to finally upgrade to this gen, which, you know, usually they do it maybe a year or two before the next console comes over, or maybe they'll have to now wait and leapfrog and go and pick up the next generation day one, because, you know, who knows what the pricing is going to be, you know, 5 or 6 years into that next generation kind of thing. But it just, it feels like they're almost trying to kill the gaming industry with these prices to some extent. I know it price sounds silly, but they're pricing themselves out of the market. And sure, there's other alternatives. There's things like Nvidia, GeForce Now. You got Game Pass. You got PS Plus to kind of get a aggregate of games for a lot less money, but you got to get the hardware first in some cases. Although Game Pass, you can play on a PC that you may already have or a phone or something, but it still feels like it's a bad move with these, companies trying to, I guess, protect their bottom line to some extent and hit us over the head with whatever fees or extra greed percentage points that they want to pay their shareholders. I mean, I am a shareholder, but they've been over 500 for a while now. I don't think they really need to squeeze this much out of a Series S. Like, I think keeping that at like maybe the launch price, like although this is probably unrealistic to some extent, keeping the launch price on these products, I think would probably be the smartest move for them. Raising the price at this point without any, tech bump or any power upgrade, it feels like you're doing a bait and switch kind of. It's like, oh, you see that V8 Camaro over there? Well, we got the 6-cylinder over here. I mean, it looks like the V8, and it's got the wheels, but you get the V6 one instead for the money that you would have paid for the V8 a year ago. It's like, what are we doing? So I don't know. I think they're going to find out over time that maybe hardware isn't the thing that you want to gouge people on. I'm not saying raise the price on services. Maybe you find another alternative, whether it's more lucrative microtransactions or actually listen to the fans on what they want, so they're actually buying the games. But then again, I think the whole thing of when we went from $60 games to $70 games kind of curtailed some of the buying habits. Because like I said before on this show, when games were 60, I wouldn't even think about it. If it was a game I knew I wanted to play, all right, it's pre-ordered day one. Now it's at 70. It's like, well, I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to get to these two games if I'm buying this one and this one. Yeah. So I can wait until those are on sale. And I think that's part of their greed is kind of shot them in the foot by making people either wait for a sale. But if the hardware isn't even going to go on a sale, even at like Christmas time, it's still going to be more than what it was at launch.
Yeah,
you're not going to move this stuff. So I don't know where we're going on this one.
Yeah, it is a slippery slope for sure. So there is, again, folks, if you remember, midway, I said there was a back end part of this conversation that has a lot of people concerned. I saw stuff from Destin Legary. Obviously me and Destin are good friends. Well, I mean, we're friends. We're not good friends. He knows who I am. I know who he is. I like his work. I do. And we've talked in the background. We're working on something together. It's going to be some sort of a, one-on-one thing. At some point when our schedules align, but he's, agreed to either for me to jump on his podcast or him to jump on mine. But needless to say, I can't wait to work with him because I do like the work that he's doing. Thank goodness he's away from IGN. But he wasn't the only one to talk about this, folks. There were a lot of content creators out there giving the what I like to call righteous smoke. We've heard that from Asante many, many times. But the back end conversation here goes beyond the Series X and S and all the different models that they have. Folks, we are a few days away from the end of the month. 8 days, as a matter of fact, right? September 30th, we're going to hit October 1st. Now, we know that before we hit the 30th, there's a Tokyo Game Show this week. We're expecting some pretty big announcements there. Some are suggesting that the handheld pricing and pre-ordering is going to be, announced there. least that is the rumor. There was some sort of a Malaysian posting about look towards October 2nd to be a day for news on the ROG. But the thing is supposed to come out in October, folks. We kind of need the info, Asus and Xbox. And my thought and theory originally, because I'm an OG and consoles go down in price, never go up in price. Well, I've been made a liar. New consoles, when a rumored price comes out, is usually the price, unless it's bombastic, right? Crispy, this handheld, or these handhelds, the Xbox Ally S and X versions, one was originally rumored to be $549.99. And the big boy, the X model, is supposed to be $900 starting, right? Well, here's the problem. The problem is that we have no release date, we have no pricing, and we have no pre-ordering for a pair of partnered OEM handhelds that are Xbox devices coming out next month, and that is concerning. So my, half glass thought theory was like, well, I heard a rumor, right? Like we all have, that, and it wasn't Microsoft trying to lower the price. It was actually Asus trying to get that S model down to $499.99. Because then if you can get the model that Fuzzy Velvety has already said is well worth its weight in gold, and you drop it $50, that thing flies off the shelf. That is for everyone who's who wants an Xbox handheld. And you're going to be able to play all of your games. Now, again, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It's not going to have all of the bells and whistles of the $900 device for obvious reasons. But damn, that S model at $500 looking super sexy there, right? Well, now I have some thoughts, because maybe it's not $549, maybe it's not $499, maybe it's $600. And if that is $600, maybe the big boy, the X model, Crispy, is $1,000. And I got to be honest with you. I look, the only saving grace, and I don't want to jinx it, folks, is with all of these price increases here, there, and everywhere, including what we just talked about with Xbox. Xbox Game Pass has not seen an increase, which, again, bite my tongue. I don't want to jinx it, but at least that has stayed the same. But that doesn't really help Microsoft, because, we're already here. I don't know. I don't know who's actually buying Xbox consoles for Game Pass, being now you can play your Game Pass pretty much anywhere you have a screen, right? The Xbox, this is an Xbox everywhere. It's a thing. So maybe they don't need to sell as many consoles. But Crispy, this increase on the old hardware, to me, at least, suggests that the new handheld hardware might actually be more expensive. What are your thoughts, man?
Oh man, this is the crazy thing, is like I have two thoughts on this. I have one, yes, it's going to be more, and I have another of they are going to try to push you to this new gen. Maybe not necessarily, maybe it just comes out the way it was now. Maybe they were trying to get to the 500. I mean, logically, I would think that they need to price like the lower end. They should take a hit on. That's the way I would do. But and the higher end, you make money off of. And we kind of felt like we had that going in the beginning of the generation with the Series S and X. And now it's become like, dude, like we can't justify these prices of raising. Now, hypothetically, because they're putting this whole new UI in and everything else, and making it a more agnostic to PC, handheld, could they be trying to get more people to get into that new aspect of the ecosystem. Not to say that I don't think that they could probably release a version on at least the Series X, but they would want to be able to do it on the Series S as well. And maybe that's where the problem lies. So realistically, I feel like we could end up being right, because we, at least both of us, said that, you know, they could lower the price. I think more than likely the price that came out is what's going to be, but there is that great possibility that $1,000 handheld. I understand we're not in the same times we were in, but come on, man, like, that is crazy. I don't care what it's got in it. Like, that's absurd. And to have the Xbox brand attached to $1,000 thing, it just, for the following year and the supposed under the TV one, like, where are we at with that? Like, I guess, like, you could make the argument, okay, well, it's a console version PC, but, you know, for the console gamer itself, like, I don't understand where we're going. So there is those possibilities. I've laid them out. I just, you know, I do feel like it's in the worst scenario, and we're going to see it go up.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, listen, I know the saving grace here might be that, yes, it just launches at $899 and $549. It's like, you know, like that was a price we all kind of, you know, braced for impact, so to speak, Fuzzy Belvedere. But what are your thoughts on this, Fuzzy? Do you think, just based on, and again, it is bizarre world, because new tech is not much more expensive than the old tech that would just had its price raised for the second time.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. And at $899, again, the Series X 2 terabyte, you don't have to get the 2 terabyte, but I prefer the extra space, is $800. This new handheld that is going to have the 1 terabyte, that is portable, that can be docked to your TV, is $100 more, and it's portable. Again, it is bizarre world, folks. Let's get your final thoughts, and we're going to move on to why I think Horizon Zero Dawn is the next one to drop onto Xbox, and that is going to freak out the pony community. Let's get your thoughts, man.
It's kind of weird, because there are some exclusions on PC parts for tariffs and stuff.
Yes.
And I've been trying to keep an eye on this moving target to some extent. And it looks like full built PCs, and it doesn't signify if they're gaming laptops or desktops. I think we may not see the price increase that we expect. Now, I know the Legion Go 2 is up there. It starts at like 1,100 and goes all the way up past 1,300 or something.
It's closer to 15, dude. $1,500 for the big boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though it's got, 8 more gigs of memory in comparison, I think the Ally X is 24 to its 32.
Yeah.
I think that one might be a bit of a gouge in comparison. And I'm keeping hopeful, knock on wood here, that they stick with those prices. Like, it definitely stands a chance of seeing a price increase from the leaked prices that we heard, where it was like the $549 and the $900 or $899 deal. But as I said before, I was kind of expecting these to be $600 and $800. I would like the higher spec one to be closer to 800, but if it's 900, that seems reasonable. I still think 600 for that device is still reasonable. Once it goes past 600, you start to see other options or other alternatives that might fit better, whether it's a gaming laptop, although I wouldn't recommend that over the PC, because if you're getting a gaming laptop at 600, it's not a gaming laptop. But as far as when you compare it to, like, let's say the consoles, you do have a little bit more freedom. You can use your existing console as like a callback, so you can do the game streaming direct on some of the games that aren't Play Anywhere. You can do the Play Anywhere on that new Ally or Xbox Ally device, or you can do the direct downloads or streams from like the cloud streaming as far as with Game Pass, if you are a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. But I don't know. Like, I think they need to stick to the price that kind of leaked. If they come out October 2nd and say something like, "Oh, it's 650 and 1,050," I think what the people that would have been on the fence for that device are already going to leave the fence and just either stick with the console they have or the PC that they may already have, or look at used Steam Decks, which are still going for 349 range. Like, if you look at what a launch Steam Deck was, it was like around 650 when they came out. That same version now is 350. Once again, that's PC parts do tend to go down in price. And I know there was a couple of conversations where looking at phones, yeah, some of those get discontinued within the 5-year period, but most of the time you can still get those phones, whether it's through the carrier or direct through the manufacturer, for up to 2 years at least, if not 3 years. And you usually do see them at a substantial discount, because with phones coming out, it feels like faster than every year. Sometimes it feels like 6 months there's a newer model, but with those, you definitely see a price decrease. And if there is an increase, like let's say from the Pixel 7 to the Pixel 8 or the iPhone 15 to the iPhone 16, it's usually because of the chipset, and now it has more starting RAM or starting storage space or something to that effect. They kind of justify that $100 bump, let's say, over a similar model from the previous year. But I think if they, and yes, I'm not a CEO of a $1 trillion company or $1 billion company. I wasn't even a CEO for $1 million company. One of the executives, but not nowhere near that level of decision making. But I think it's a bad decision if you're going to release this device, going through all that trouble as far as the partnership and the engineering behind the feel of it, the software engineering aspect to make this device, and then you kill it by pricing it out of its customer base. Like, I would say at this point, if you have to go past that price, you might as well just put this project on ice until people are accustomed to paying for that type of chipset the prices that they might ask for. Where I don't foresee people really. I mean, there are quite a few people I know in our circle that will pay $1,500 for a handheld PC, but those aren't the masses. If you're trying to appeal to the masses, you got to keep it within the price range that doesn't feel like it's more than their car payment, which car payments are kind of gotten out of hand as well these days. But all in all, you don't want to have a device that's not a phone wind up being in the price point of a phone kind of thing. I think that's where you start losing any momentum you could gain. But fingers crossed. I'm hoping for 550 and 900 be the actual launch prices that they announce on the second. If it's $50 more bump on either one of them, okay, acceptable, at least in my opinion. Anything more than that, yeah, they're only going to appeal to the enthusiast that just wants this device to maybe replace an older device that they already have, kind of thing. And that's where I think they need to look at their pricing and know their customer base, or know who they're trying to appeal to. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and you certainly want to see this thing come out of the gate and be an option for Xbox gamers who have been on the fence of getting a Steam Deck or a ROG or a Lenovo, or one of the older handhelds that started it all. Again, I don't know if it's very questionable, the withholding of the price and the pre-orders, and then this happens. So it makes me believe almost immediately that these handhelds are going to be more money. I would love to be proven wrong, Xbox. I'd love to be the guy to be like, yep, see, those were the prices, $549 and $899, and maybe that's what they were, and these price increases happened for the old hardware, and they're like, well, I mean, these were the prices that leaked. Maybe they keep it that way. Again, it's new hardware. They got to make money, and this is OEM device. This isn't Microsoft. This is ASUS that is now putting out this hardware that manufactured it. So we're going to see. Ultimately, I would imagine, hopefully by week's end, we'll have an official price and a pre-order date for these handheld consoles coming out relatively soon in October. But you know what? Let me catch up on super chats and channel member chats. And guys, we're going to get into what I think might be the biggest story of the weekend for sure. I mean, obviously, the bad news with the Xbox consoles going up is one thing, and we've kind of really put that to bed. I'm glad that we talked about it. It may not be the most fun topic, but it's a topic that needed a conversation, I should say. But the first member chat of the day comes the way of Sith Lord, who's been a channel member for a whopping 41 months. Thank you so much for the incredible support, Sith. He goes on to say, bear down, the Bears beat Mavs Cowboys. Send some love to Mav. Bears win. What's this feeling, he asks. It's called winning, Mr. Bear. He goes on to say, Blackhawks' 100th season starts in 2 weeks, and he can't wait. Yeah, he's a big hockey guy as well. Thank you for the continued support there, Sith. Appreciate it. Ultron Quake, who's been a channel member for 2 years. Brother, that is crazy generous of you, Ultron Quake. Thank you so much. He goes on to say this. Boom. Have you given more time to Deep Rock the Galactic Survivor? I'm addicted to it now. Yeah, I played about a couple of hours of it. Again, I like it. I don't love it yet. Maybe because I haven't unlocked enough. The furthest I've gotten, I think, was to like the 4th or 5th level, and I got killed and I had to start over. It's a roguelite, but I'm enjoying it. It's a fun game. It is fun. I like those type of games, but I don't know how much I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to be honest with you, because the leveling up is super slow, and the weapon choices are very slow. Like, I'm not getting any of these amazing powers I would get with, in Yet Another Zombie Survivors, or like Greedland or Achilles Survivor. Like, you get like powers that really change the game, so to speak. I'm not seeing that in this, but I'll keep with it for sure. Thanks so much for the support, brother. We super appreciate it. Elemento Pio, generous friend of the program. He's been a channel member for 42 months, brother. That is crazy generous of you. He goes on to say this. Some of the critics say Microsoft is looking like Sega these days. If that's the case with games like Shinobi and Sonic Racers, then so be it. I love when people try to equate Sega and Microsoft or Xbox. It's just not the same, and I'm not taking anything away from Sega. Is going to come back in the biggest way, and they already have, folks. Shinobi and Sonic Racers are reviewing crazy well. Tokyo Game Show is in a couple of days. They're expected to be there. They're going to be announcing 9 games, 4 of which are going to be never-before-seen new games. I think it's part of the Super Game program that they're working on, which means that we might get Jet Set Radio. We may get a new Panzer Dragoon. We may get Crazy Taxi, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, you name it. It could potentially be there. Maybe even a new Outrun. Holy cow, that'd be amazing. Listen, Sega's back in a big way. And Xbox is, look, if Xbox has proven anything this year, 2025 is probably going to go down as one of their best years in gaming. Honestly, they've had so many games from first party, and again, if we're talking second, third, and indies, you cannot argue with the amount of Game Pass goodness you continue to get. It's unfathomable, folks. It just really is. How do they keep doing it? Well, I mean, we keep buying some of these games. We keep buying the microtransactions, and people keep jumping in to get into this service. It's obviously working. Joe Dunmore drops a very generous $2 of chat and simply says, support the consumer. Indeed, kind sir. Always consumer first mentality here. The broke boy in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat and says they don't even provide a bottle of KY with the new price. How dare you? Pause. No, they just gave it to you raw, and it's unfortunate. Dragon Wolf in the chat drops who's been a channel member for a whopping nearly 2 years, 20 months. Dragon Wolf, that is crazy generous of you, my brother. He says, do you think Microsoft is killing this console while raising prices so the price won't be such a shock to the next generation consoles? I mean, it's possible. But see, that's the thing that's super odd. right? Like if the 2 terabyte Series X in 2025 is $800 and is the same tech from 2020, right? When these consoles came out, what are the next consoles for everyone except for Nintendo? Nintendo's probably their next console in 7 years is going to be a Series S Power. That's probably what it's going to be. And it's going to cost them a nickel to make, and they're going to sell for $500. It's just the way Nintendo is. But I don't know. These next generation consoles, I think, are going to be, I don't know, man. Maybe $1,000. It's crazy. I'm going to save this particular conversation that I have in my head for Wednesday, because I was talking with Kay Asante this morning, and we both have a thought and theory as to how Xbox might actually have a price advantage in 27 because of the fact that it's going to be more PC like rather than home console. We'll break that down on Wednesday. Roshan Impenger, who's been a channel member, he's been drops a very generous $5 super chat. Thank you so much for the generosity, Roshan. He goes on to say, the question from what Fuzzy said is, are the old TVs and phones from a few years ago going up in price? I mean, I don't know. I don't think so, to be honest with you. I think the price is the price, but they haven't been raised. For a phone from 3 years ago is not costing the same thing as a new phone today. And maybe that's different because phones come out every year. So maybe that's the contributing factor. I'm not sure, but thank you for this generosity, brother. We also have Whole Grain Bread dropping a very generous $5 super chat. He goes on to say, this price increase will make it harder for people on previous gens to justifiably upgrade on top of an $80 base game. It's becoming difficult. Yeah, I mean, look, you can call this diabolical or you can call it genius. And here's why. What's coming out next year? Grand Theft Auto 6. Is it May? I don't know. Is it probably going to be delayed? Yeah, it's Rockstar. Holiday. What doesn't matter. Here's the problem. That game is only for Series X, S, and PS5 and PS5 Pro. So what happens if you are on the Xbox One S, the X, PS4, PS4 Pro, and you want to play Grand Theft Auto 6? You have absolutely zero choice than to buy a new console. And this is the brick wall. You can't even say, well, I'm just going to buy a PC, because it's not coming out on PC. It's not going to release on PC for a year. So this actually might be considered diabolical from all of the corporations working in tandem, because they know they got you by the balls. Literally in the hand, crushing them as we speak. Your balls are gone. They're ripped off. It's a fatality. Gone. And you know what? You're going to say, I have to figure out a way to get one of these new consoles because I want to play Grand Theft Auto 6. And I don't know, man. Again, folks, I just think it's more diabolical than coincidental. I don't believe in coincidences, especially in business. Scott Woodford, who's been a channel member for 14 months. Scott, that's crazy generous of you. Thank you for the continued support through channel membership. He goes on to say, hello, I'm for ROG Ally Xbox. Love somebody today. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going to get it, but if that joint's $1,100 and, we're saving for a home, I don't know if I can legitimately justify that kind of purchase. Like, I mean, it's, again, I can add it to my Best Buy card that has no balance. I specifically have no balance, and I opened up a Best Buy card for the ROG Ally Big Boy. That's the whole point of me having this card, because I don't really buy a lot of things from Best Buy, but I know that they partnered with ASUS, and again, like when pre-orders, for instance, come out, I get to the head of the line because I have a card, right? So I'll be able to pre-order it, and I'll be able to pay $100 a month on the card, and by the end of the year, it's paid off. That's something I would do. I'm not dropping $1,100 out of my bank account, like day one, let's go. No, I'm not doing that, because that's a lot of money, especially when you're, we're saving for our first home. But gentlemen, we got to get into the topic that sent many of the PlayStation purists, aka the toxic MFs of PlayStation Nation, into a effing tizzy. Now, folks, the story comes the way of Tech for Gamers. It was posted September 21st, and I already have linked it to the show notes. If you want to read it for yourself, by all means, check it out. It was written by Abdullah Wasim. Now, Abdullah goes on to say in his headline, Horizon Zero Dawn seemingly the next PlayStation port coming to Xbox. And he asks a question, PlayStation going all out with multi-platform strategy, ? And in their story highlights, and this is where it gets very pointed and interesting, Crispy Bomb, a new link suggests PlayStation is planning to release Horizon Zero Dawn on Xbox. A similar trend was observed for Helldivers 2, and it eventually came out on the rival's console. And the last bullet point is this: if this is indeed true, it seems both companies are adopting a solid multi-platform strategy. Now, I'm going to give myself flowers right now. And I also want to say a big thank you to Clute in the chat, aka Abdel114, because he found, as he's done many times before, an episode of X Vlog Live with me and C Money, and he put it out on the socials. And basically what C and I were talking about is we had spoken to two separate people that we trust that are considered leakers, insiders, if you will. And on that particular episode, we said that we were told that they saw, the unnamed sources, that Helldivers 2 was in the back end of the Xbox store. Now, if you guys and gals remember, and again, walk with me on this, because this is where we get into the evidence-based conversation that I love having. There were a couple of PlayStation leakers, insiders, if you will, content creators that had went out and found through their connections that Gears of War was where? On the back end of the PlayStation store. And look what happened. Gears of War Reloaded released on the PlayStation 5. And coincidentally enough, Helldivers 2 eventually released on Xbox. And we both were ridiculed. We were lambasted by many of the toxic MFs in PlayStation Nation about not knowing what we're talking about. And what do you know? Helldivers 2 is on Xbox and doing quite well. So here is a particular paragraph that I want to point your attention to. Now, in the story, how it came out is when you typed in Horizon Zero Dawn, an Xbox link came up, right? Now, this would be considered potentially on the back end of the Xbox store. And this is what the article had to say in regards to this, folks. This is why I think this is a reality. Now, granted, it's breadcrumbs. It is a current rumor. It has not been announced. But the Decima engine, we know, works on the Xbox platform. And why is that? Because Death Stranding is already available, and Death Stranding 2 is going to release next year on Xbox using what? The Decima engine. Well, in the article, it says this, Crispy. We spotted a dedicated link to Horizon Zero Dawn for Xbox, and it doesn't seem like a coincidence at all. And here's why. Before Helldivers 2 eventually came to Xbox, it saw an exact similar thing, indicating a solid cause that Horizon could in fact be the next game in line to come to Xbox. And, well, he goes on to say, if it is indeed the case, we might see an announcement soon. This would also mark a huge shift in Sony's policies, which have been very rigid in the past. But now, as console wars don't really exist, multi-platform is the way to go. Now, look, this is not confirmed, Crispy Bomb, but that is some damning evidence. And I think if you go back to what happened on that episode of X Vlog Live with me and C Money, we were told that that they were able to see Helldivers 2 on the back end of the store in the same form and fashion. Again, a separate source, i.e., the person that wrote this story, and of course, who it works for, Tech for Gamers, has also seen it on the back end of the Xbox store. Again, it's a rumor, folks. It's not confirmed. But if there's anything that we know about Herman Holtz, Crispy, is that he wants more people to play his baby, Horizon Zero Dawn. And if you think it stops and starts with it, Lego Horizon going to Nintendo only, you are sadly mistaken. This game is minimum 5 years old, and it is not making any money for them whatsoever. But you know what would make money? If Horizon came to Xbox. I think it's the next one. I think they're onto something here, and you're not moving me off the square. Let's get your thoughts, Crispy.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, they need to realize it's happening, and I'm talking about the stands here.
Yep.
You just look at, like, even their, like, Sony's market cap's going up. Like, the investors probably screaming, this is what we need to do. I also bring up, you know, like, you guys took a lot of hate for the Helldivers 2 thing, but in realism, it's just proof in the pudding at this point. You look at what we called out, PlayStation. I saw plenty of PlayStation guys, not necessarily stands. I mean, at least once in a while, they're reasonable. And definitely were like, hey, I've seen Gears is coming. Gears is coming. Well, it happened. Okay. Now, a lot of people probably thought it was, 2 and 3 and 1 and the whole collection there, but you just got one. And that's where I say, you look at Horizon, you look at, they're trying to make it a brand, like maybe even probably, and you got to think about this, having enough clout to really go home on a TV show or movie, if you think about it, because you got to have that brand recognition. And, realistically, if you look at like the Minecraft movie, brand recognition right there, it's been out forever as well. So why not put new eyes on that, get some new PR, and it will be justified by releasing it on Xbox, but also it will put Horizon back in front of PlayStation gamers that may not have played it. And this is something that they probably experience, and they probably will never see the real numbers, but of how much Helldivers 2 really sold after going on Xbox on PlayStation. It's like a cross marketing in logic. So I say, get ready. Now, I'm one of those people. I think it's going to be any game that's much older or, is really a great game, but they're not going to, I think they're going to piecemeal it. They're going to give you one at a time. And I think Xbox is going to do the same type of thing, one at a time, just to make sure that they're not, completely saying, hey, we're just giving you everything. Because I don't know. Then, do you want, like, I want an Xbox for Game Pass more than anything, and the controller and the ecosystem. And PlayStation, I mean, unless they change PlayStation Plus or at least the top tier, I mean, it's just brand nostalgia at this point, and some people are going to wise up and be like, well, I should just get an Xbox console because you guys are releasing all of your brand new games on there. So I think there's a little seesaw going on here of what they're actually willing to do and what they're going to do. But as far as the Horizon thing, I mean, it totally makes sense, and it will just boost its sales, and we know Sony loves sales, so that's really all I got.
No, I mean, you mentioned sales, and I kind of want to expand on that a bit. Everyone seems to think that the sales of software on Sony by their own mains, the Sony mains, is enough. Folks, the freaking numbers don't lie. We just went over this last week. In the past 30 years, the best-selling game, 12 out of the 20 spots, was freaking Call of Duty. And if you went into it further in detail, the Spider-Mans were there, yes. God of War was not. Neither was any of the Horizons. Neither was Last of Us. These were absent from the best-selling top 20 list of the last 30 years. There's a reason for it, okay? And all I have to do, Fuzzy Belvedere, is go right back to something you've heard me say a dozen times. Spider-Man 28, Spider-Man 2, 315 million. Helldivers, which is now available everywhere but the Switch, cost $100 million to make, a third of what it cost Spider-Man. And guess what? Helldivers 2 ate Spider-Man 2's lunch. Okay, and when you consider all of the cancellations, including the $400 million bath from Concord, where do you think the Sony is going to get this money from? From the mains buying their games? Listen, they don't buy games. I'm sorry. The numbers prove that's right. And we know for a fact that what sells most on PlayStation 5 is third-party games, not the single-player, story-driven games from first party. Why do you think Sony has went back from putting out 3 of those a year to confirming they're going to put out 1? Because they can't afford to keep taking losses. And if they can go to Xbox, and look, I think the outlier here, very simply, if you want to keep it basic math 101, Fuzzy Belvedere, is they're going to look at the sales of Helldivers 2, and then we want more of that. That's what they're going to want. It was number 1 and number 3 in their own store on Xbox. They're going to want that. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Yeah, I honestly thought that there would be some other titles that might beat Horizon Zero Dawn, but like I know the Decima engine thing goes to show, because I know there were some ponies out there that were like, oh, the series consoles can't handle the Decima engine, and then Death Stranding proved that was a lie, and Death Stranding 2 will probably prove that's a lie in a year as well, or in about a year's time. So I figured, if anything, they probably should have announced Xbox when they did the master of Horizon Zero Dawn for PC. And no, did they? No, I think that was a free upgrade if you already had it on PC. But for console, I think they did an upgrade for those that may already have the game to have it look like Horizon Forbidden West, where you have like those like highlights around the characters and things, so they have a little bit of that glow when you're talking to them and stuff. It would have probably made sense to put it on series consoles at that point, but yeah, I still think Returnal and Days Gone maybe get announced prior, but I would not be surprised if Horizon Zero Dawn comes over. I mean, considering that's Herman Hulst's baby to some extent.
Yes, it is.
Why not?
Dude, he wants to sell that to everybody, bro.
Yeah. I mean, it's not moving any numbers or any bottom line figures or anything like that, being as old as it is and not being on a new platform. Sure, if the Switch 2 could run it, put it on there as well. Put it on Xbox. Like, there, even though I know we've probably made a good bit of fun over it, I purchased it, but it's like some of the side quests are a little on the nose kind of thing.
You're talking about the find my leg?
Yeah. But yeah, it is a good game as far as the combat and the concept of fighting dinosaurs and stuff like that, or robot dinosaurs, I should say. It's like that I think would do well on the Xbox platform. So when it comes over, I don't expect it to do Helldivers 2 numbers. One, price difference, because I don't think they're going to sell it for 40, even though it's that much of an older game. But I think they'll try at least get the 60 out of it, and a decent number will sell on the Xbox platform. But as it stands right now, you could either let it sit on the shelf and collect more dust and hopefully remaster it in another year or two with the next generation console or PS6 or whatever, and see if you get any additional sales from your same fan base, or you could put it on another platform and have the potential of, selling maybe 1 million copies or 2 million copies. I mean, money is money. It still spends at the end of the day. And I think the cost to port, especially considering the chipsets are both based off of x86, isn't quite as involved as it probably used to be in comparison from like the 360 and PS3 days, or even the Xbox One and PS4 days, even though those were kind of loosely based on the x86 with the Jaguar cores and whatnot. But yeah, I think at this point they're going to try to get as much money off of stuff that's collecting dust. And if they could sell, 1 million copies on Xbox, I think the shareholders will be happy, as well as, that dev team will be happy, and Nixus will be happy because, for some strange reason, I think ponies think that they're just going to get rid of Nixus, or all of a sudden Nixus is going to make its own IP when all they've done is port to PC or things along those lines. So yeah, I think it will benefit Sony in the short term. Some extra cash in their pocket will help fund, because just like we say, when ponies buy Xbox games over there, us buying Horizon Zero Dawn, you guys should be thankful, because that will help fund the third installment for Horizon. So hey, be happy.
I mean, again, folks, it's a rumor. There are a lot of people talking about it. There's a lot of information coming out. We saw Ecstasy's put out a post regarding it. I have this comes the way of Reddit, folks. So when users on Reddit, users had discovered a link to the Xbox store for Horizon Zero Dawn and Ghost of Tsushima. Currently, when trying to access it from that German store, it appears the URL is not found, which suggests it might have been published ahead of time. Again, folks, is Ghost of Tsushima going to show up on Xbox? I don't know. I mean, listen, did you ever think Gears of War and Halo and Horizon, Horizon would show up on PlayStation at some point? We never thought that. Look, again, we're going to have to watch this story as it transpires. I do agree with you, Fuzzy. I do think that Returnal is going to be the next one as well, because the rumors are Nixus is literally working on that as we speak. We'll see. It only moved about 1.2 million between its original release on PS5 and then, of course, the additional sales they got on PC. They supposedly, according to Sony, it was profitable, but I mean, again, that's what they said. I don't know for sure. Would that sell on Xbox? I mean, I would buy it. That's for sure. I didn't buy it on PC because I don't play on PC, and I didn't buy it on PS5 because I thought it was too much money. It came out at $70. It was too much. I'm not. No, sorry. That game, you want to bash your head against the wall. I'm not paying $70 for that. So maybe it comes out on Xbox and it's $50. That's a purchase I'll be willing to make, because I didn't play it. But again, folks, it's just a rumor. Don't get yourself all bent out of shape if you are a PlayStation guy or girl purist. We have to see how things play out, but I'm just want to kind of give you the heads up. Sony wants to make money. They're going to do what they always do, and that is copy Xbox. Xbox has had incredible success on PlayStation. I would imagine PlayStation is going to have a very similar amount of success on Xbox, and we saw that already with Helldivers 2. But let me catch up on these super chats and we'll get everyone out of here. We have a generous $10 super chat from the Broke Boy. He goes on to say, sorry, Boom, but I don't think that this is believable. This is a glitch in Google search. It even has Nintendo games listed for Xbox when you do it as well. Will they come? Maybe, but this isn't it. I'm going to have to push back on you there, Will, because people did that with God of War and it didn't show up. They did that with Last of Us. It didn't show up. They did it with a few other games and it didn't show up. These particular games, it did show up. And these are on the back end of the store. These, again, you have to trust me on this. This is exactly the same thing that C Money and I were told when we talked about Helldivers, seeing it in the back end of the store. That's exactly what happened to Helldivers 2. And what happened? It was a couple of months before it came out, and we were ridiculed and nailed to the cross over it, right? People did podcasts, people did spaces, people did clips, and it's fine because ultimately it did come out. Now, is that going to be the same thing for Horizon and potentially Ghost of Tsushima? I don't know, but Sony is not in a financial position to not want to try and put their games that are years old. You got to understand, Ghost of Tsushima is years old. Horizon are years old. Spider-Man 2018 just made its 7th year anniversary. These are games that they're okay. And the best way I could describe it is like this: these are old games that could potentially make new money. And that is what Sony wants. But we will certainly see, brother. Appreciate the generosity as always. I think it's a reality. I think that anyone that thinks that Sony isn't going to follow suit is sadly mistaken. We have a very generous gifted 5 gifted subs, as a matter of fact, from Aris_EMS, as he's done so many times before. Aris, welcome to the program. And once again, thank you so much for the generosity. And lastly, we have Michael Mooney. Michael, great to see you here, brother. He drops a very generous £5 super chat. He goes, the Kojima Productions video due tomorrow will likely reveal Death Stranding 2 PC version and possible the Xbox version plus OD. Yes, that's right. He actually has 2 events happening. He has this one where it's going to show Death Stranding 2 for PC. You're right, Michael. He's probably going to get a release date for that. You might get a release date for Xbox, and they're going to potentially show a gameplay or at least a CG trailer of OD to kind of figure out what it is. But there's also another event that's happening closer to the Game Awards called Beyond the Strand. And it's going to be games or ideas that he's talking about that are outside of Death Stranding 2 for Xbox, for PC, and on the 2 games that he's currently working on right now, OD being one of them. Thank you so much for this generous $5 super chat, brother, and great to see you here as always. Gentlemen, let's get everyone out of here. Crispy Bomb, sell the brand, brother. Where could people reach out to you, get receipts, and of course, the crispy truth?
At Crispy Bomb on X, Crispy Bomb 28 Xbox Live, and I'm always on Boom's channel. This week I'll be able to join on Friday as well, so we'll see you then.
Let's go. And as a matter of fact, you're joining at a good time. That is going to be the big $300 giveaway, the 7th annual Boom's Birthday Bash this Friday morning, 10 a.m. And all you got to do to win or potentially win is be in the chat while the show was live. We have the current hashtag under lock and key. We'll put that out Friday morning, and all you got to do is type it in once, and you're entered. That's it. You don't even have to be subbed to the channel to win. And you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be proud to say that. We'd like everyone to be subbed, but if you're not subbed and you won, you still win, folks. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's sell the brand. And obviously, Shocktober is you and the Mrs. Month, and it's going to be a big month for the podcast called Fright Nights with Ferocious Fee, Friday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And obviously, I know you guys are getting ready. If not already, like Silent Cypher, have Halloween all over the house, as you should. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people follow you guys on the socials? But more importantly, subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Oh, as always, love doing this with you, Boom, as well as Crispy. Love talking about the industry and, all these games and hardware and stuff to look forward to. Not the prices as much, but the tech and the games in general. That's the big thing to look forward to, and always enjoy discussing that. And everybody in the chat, thanks for checking us out. Greatly appreciate you guys supporting us here. Don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate it. Clear that backlog because they're still dropping a lot of games on us. So try to clear out as many games as you can before the Tokyo Game Show. So that way, in case there's a shadow drop, you can probably, hop on that for the weekend and everything. But all in all, you can find me on social media. Just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere and you can find me. If you're a horror fan, there won't be a podcast this Friday unless something changes, but we are on the road filming for Crimson Harvest, and it's Crimson with a Z-O-N. Keep an eye out for that movie. Probably won't be released until like next Halloween or maybe a little bit sooner, but definitely make a note of it. But all in all, check our social media. I put the link for the YouTube channel in the chat, but check our social media for some of the pics. We're not going to show all behind the scenes, but you might see some scenery of cornfields and lakes and things like that. So kind of keep the imagination going, but keep an eye out for more updates on what we're doing and what films we're working on, and greatly appreciate the support. Have a great week, and look forward to Tokyo Game Show, because I think we're going to have some surprises there. So nice.
Well, we know one for sure, and there is an unannounced title on the list. I believe it's going to be happening at 9 p.m. I took a look at the breakdown of when it's going to be happening. So, folks, FYI, I'm not covering, like, I won't be live when the Tokyo Game Show is happening at 6 a.m. in the morning. I ain't about that life, folks. I love you, but 6 a.m. That's all I got to say. I am going to be doing 2 podcasts that week. This week, Thursday. I'm going to be doing a post Tokyo Game Show event. It's going to run about 60 minutes. We're going to react to whatever happened. I'm looking for a panel that's going to be at 9 a.m. And if the panel needs another hour, maybe we start at 10. I'll give you all the deets, folks. And at 12, I'm looking for a co-host because C Money is doing stuff with the family. I reached out to Mav to see if he can join me, and we'll be doing the regular edition of X Vlog Live. So you're getting 2 podcasts on Thursday, and of course they're both going to kind of cover the Tokyo Game Show, but one's going to be the post show in the morning, and then of course the X Vlog Live in the afternoon, and then of course then later on we'll be covering the birthday bash on Friday. I have so much to do this week, folks. There's so much real life shit happening for us that I'm going to be exhausted by week's end, but I cannot wait because I'm going to get a chance to spend my birthday with you fine folks on Thursday, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. But ladies and gentlemen, oh, wait a second. We just got a new channel member. I don't even know how to it's UXAS Dark Side, or Dark Seed, I should say. Thank you so much for becoming a channel member. That's super generous of you, brother. I've never seen a name, and I'm going to welcome you with open arms. That's awesome. We appreciate it. Shout out to Leonard Herrera. 3 a.m. here. I'm not about that 3 a.m. life. When I was a rookie cop, they used to tell us all the time, nothing good happens after midnight. And that was basically telling you that when you were on the job, get your ass home and go to sleep, because that's it. Every time somebody got jammed up, it was always after midnight. So again, it's just a little cop lingo stuff right there. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us here. I'm already working on tomorrow's show. Things are breaking. The new Call of Duty multiplayer trailer. Holy shit, it looks amazing. I can't freaking wait. It's going to be one heck of a week to hang out and check out your favorite podcaster, because obviously I'm not the only one. You have Dirk Riggedy, you have Sean, you have the Iron Lords are traveling. They're going to be going out to, of course, Japan to cover the Tokyo Game Show. So safe trails, to them, of course. Those are my brothers. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We do appreciate it. We had over 500 people here. A big thank you to all of the gifted subs, super chats, as well as the member chats that go on behind the scenes. We super appreciate it. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's very important to me, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you, you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.